Breaking news, Raider Nation, it's time to face some hard truths. The Raiders have slipped to 1-3, and the season is already raising serious concerns. But behind the losses, there are stories on the field that every fan needs to hear. Stay with me, because what we're about to break down could explain exactly why things are going wrong. Before we dive into the latest news, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss an update. Now, let's get into it. The Raiders' offense has shown flashes of life. Ashton Jeanty exploded with some big plays, and Raheem Mostert added a few strong runs. Even the offensive line looked sharper than it has in past weeks. But while some parts are improving, others are holding this team back. One clear issue: wide receiver Dont'e Thornton. Many fans hoped his size and speed would make him a dangerous weapon right away, but his lack of polished route running is starting to show. Even in college, scouts knew Thornton was raw. Tennessee never asked him to run the full route tree, and it's clear on tape he still has a lot to learn. The Raiders made the risky decision to enter this season counting on Thornton as a starting receiver. And the results? Mistakes on the field that have cost them in critical moments. Take one crossing route as an example. Thornton initially gained separation, but instead of keeping full speed, he slowed down, glanced back at the quarterback, and the pass ended up incomplete. In the NFL, that split second makes all the difference. Another key moment came on 3rd and 11 in the red zone. Geno Smith threw a ball that hit Thornton's hands, but he couldn't secure it. Critics may argue the throw should have been higher, but Smith was intentionally keeping it low to protect Thornton from a heavy hit. Instead of a touchdown drive, the Raiders had to settle for a field goal with 6 minutes left. That decision, settling instead of striking, shifted the momentum. And that's the bigger story: small mistakes turning into big setbacks. Thornton's inexperience is being exposed, and unless adjustments are made, whether it's giving another receiver a chance or making a move for fresh talent, the Raiders' offense will continue to struggle. Because the Raiders settled for that field goal, the game stayed within 5 points. And that decision gave the Bears exactly what they needed. They marched straight down the field and punched in a touchdown. We'll get to that drive in a moment, but let's stay focused on the problems that keep repeating themselves. Take Dont'e Thornton again. Yes, Geno Smith threw the ball low to protect him from a big hit, but the fact remains, it hit Thornton right in the hands. At this level, you have to make that catch. These are the little details that separate winning teams from losing ones. Now, it's not only Thornton. Geno Smith himself hasn't been perfect. His ball placement has been questionable, and that's a big deal. People love to point at completion percentage, but let's be honest, that number can be very misleading. You can throw 10 screen passes and end up with a perfect percentage. But does that mean you're placing the ball where it needs to be? Not at all. Ball placement is about precision. It's about leading your receiver in stride, putting it on the chest when he stops, or throwing it low exactly right so he can protect himself. And right now, Geno is struggling with that part of the game. The first interception told the whole story. The Raiders ran a dagger concept out of trips formation. The Bears sat in cover 6, showing it clearly before the snap. That should have been easy for Geno to recognize. In cover 6, the safety owns the middle, and any crossing route is his responsibility. Kevin Byard read it like a book, jumped the route, and took the ball away. Maybe the disguised pressure threw Geno off. 2 defenders were lined up over the guards, showing blitz. Maybe his internal clock sped up. But even if that was the case, the throw itself was off target. It didn't look sharp, and it seemed like Jakobi Meyers didn't even expect it. Moments like this raise a serious question: is Geno Smith steady enough to carry this offense under pressure? It almost looked like Jakobi Meyers wasn't even trying to haul that ball in, and instead the defender came away with the interception. Maybe the throw was just that far off. Either way, it highlights the same issue that keeps coming up: ball placement. On Geno Smith's 3rd interception, the pattern repeated itself. Yes, there was some pressure in his face, but that doesn't excuse putting the ball behind his receiver. Myers was crossing the field, and that throw needed to be out in front so he could stretch and grab it in stride. Instead, the cornerback had time to jump the route and make a clean play on the ball. That's not bad luck, that's a quarterback missing his spot. Now, if we rewind to the second interception, the story shifts slightly. The ball wasn't terribly placed this time. The bigger problem was predictability. For the second time, the Raiders tried to run a dagger concept. Same design, just dressed up a little differently, this time with a tight end instead of 3 wideouts. But defenses are smart. The Bears sat in cover 2, Kevin Byard recognized it instantly, and he was right there waiting to snatch it. That's the real concern. Teams know how to bait Geno Smith. They show pressure, disguise coverage, and then pounce when the throw comes. And the Raiders, instead of adjusting, keep walking into the same trap. This doesn't mean every mistake falls on Thornton, or even Geno alone. The coaching staff deserves blame too. Bringing in Amari Cooper late in his career as a replacement option was never going to fix the wide receiver problem. The decisions at the top, from Pete Carroll down, are putting Geno in tough situations without reliable answers around him. And while one quarterback coach even defended Geno on that low throw to Thornton, saying it was likely intentional to avoid a linebacker, the larger pattern is clear. The accuracy just isn't sharp enough, and defenses have started to figure it out. Right now, the Raiders have reached a breaking point. The running game hasn't been reliable, and the passing attack looks flat. Against the Commanders, Geno Smith barely had 120 yards before piling up meaningless stats late in the game. That same pattern showed up in Week 1, slow starts, empty possessions, and then a couple of late drives when it was already too late. But there was one bright spot, rookie guard Jackson Powers-Johnson. Watching the tape, it's obvious, this kid is special. The Raiders made the decision to roll with him, and it's already paying off. His awareness and football IQ stand out in ways the stat sheet can't capture. Take one play where the Bears showed heavy pressure, 7 defenders crowding the line, disguising who would actually rush. In the past, this has been a nightmare for the Raiders. Missed assignments, free rushers, total chaos. But not this time. Powers-Johnson instantly recognized the linebacker dropping out, shifted smoothly, and picked up the corner blitz. The pocket stayed clean. Yes, Geno still threw an interception, but the protection was textbook. Later in the fourth quarter, he did it again. When his teammate lost ground inside, Powers-Johnson stepped in, stopped the rusher, then slid left to recognize a defensive line stunt. Without that quick read, the quarterback would have been crushed. Instead, the play stayed alive. This is why Powers-Johnson already looks like one of the Raiders' smartest players up front. His processing speed, his strength, and his ability to adjust on the fly, these are traits of an elite lineman. Unfortunately, not everyone on that offensive line is playing at his level. Opposing defenses have figured it out. They're running stunts and twists to target Jordan Meredith because he's slow to react. Too often, he can't pass defenders off cleanly, and it leaves the quarterback vulnerable. So while the Raiders may have found a cornerstone in Powers-Johnson, the bigger unit still has glaring weaknesses, and until those are fixed, the offense won't reach its full potential. That 3rd and 1 play was rough. Meredith got completely blown up on the quarterback's sneak. And believe it or not, the Raiders actually have a tell on their sneaks, just like a long snapper does. Every single time, Geno Smith sneaks to the left. Every single time. Eventually, defenses are going to catch on and start attacking that gap. On this one, Meredith lost right away. Then on 4th and 1? Even worse. I have no clue what he was thinking. It looked like he tried to reach block to the left, but nobody else on the line blocked it that way. Everyone else was playing it like a power run. So either Meredith was completely lost on the play call, or he was just out of sync. Whatever it was, it killed the play. And here's the bigger issue, it's not just Meredith. The offense as a whole looks confused. You see it on tape. Look at Ian Thomas on one run. He ran a split zone block but stopped like it was a play-action pass. His guy blew up the play, and it went nowhere. Same story on that 4th and 1, Meredith thought he was supposed to reach block, but no one else was doing that. It's confusion, plain and simple. That's why it's unfair to pin everything on Geno Smith. Yes, he makes mistakes, but when your receivers are running the wrong motions and your linemen don't know the calls, that's on the system. Remember, it's early in the season. The offense should be simple right now. Instead, it feels like Chip Kelly has already dumped the whole playbook in there, and the players aren't keeping up. It reminds me of when Paul Guenther was with the Raiders. He had so many defensive calls that players were just lost. That's what this looks like on offense now. Even Trey Tucker got mixed up on a motion that should have been an easy score, ended up burning a timeout and getting chewed out by Geno. So yeah, Meredith had some bad plays. But honestly, he's not the biggest problem. Neither is Geno. Right now, the real issue feels like Chip Kelly's system. And if it doesn't get fixed soon, the Raiders' offense is going to keep tripping over itself. Here's the thing about watching football live, it's easy to point at the quarterback when he gets sacked and wonder, why didn't he just throw it? But the truth is, sometimes the problem isn't him at all. Sometimes, the routes downfield are broken, the spacing is off, and the whole concept just isn't working. And honestly, with the Raiders right now, it feels like Chip Kelly's system is the root of a lot of these issues. But let's switch it up and talk defense, because that side of the ball actually had themselves a game. Now, we already know who Maxx Crosby is. He's a superstar. But this week? He went nuclear. Statistically, it was one of the best games I've ever seen from a defensive player. He had 20 positive plays on tape. 20. That's unheard of. And the film backs it up, he was wrecking everything. It's crazy people even tried to criticize him last week, because the tape never lies. And Crosby wasn't alone. The Bears' line was banged up, and the Raiders took full advantage. Malcolm Koonce came alive too. He's not fully back yet, but you can see flashes of the guy we always believed he could be. Coming off injury, players can't just lean on pure athleticism, they have to sharpen their technique. And that's what Koonce is doing. If he gets that burst and bend back, he's going to be a serious weapon. Devin White also made his presence felt. Against the run, he was everywhere, flying downhill, blowing things up. Coverage? That's where it got shaky. Linebackers aren't built to chase wideouts across the field, and a couple times he got exposed. But let's be real, he's a big reason why the Raiders' run defense has looked so strong. People doubted the signing, but you can see why he was once a top 10 pick. His instincts and processing against the run are top tier. Even on the lone sack of the day, White played a role. He looped around on a stunt, freed up Tyree Wilson, and Wilson cashed in. Just a smart design and execution. Now, the one frustration, despite all the pressure, the Raiders couldn't finish with more sacks. But credit where it's due, Caleb Williams is hard to get down. He's quick, slippery, and once he feels pressure, he takes off. Unless you rush with perfect discipline, he's gone. And that was the challenge all day. Let's close things out with that final drive, because this is where the game slipped away. The Bears got the ball with about 6 minutes left, and they marched right down the field for the touchdown that sealed it. Now, here's the problem, it wasn't one big mistake. It was layer after layer of breakdowns. The defense just kept giving Caleb Williams and the Bears free chances. Take one example, the Raiders dial up a stunt up front. But instead of crashing the inside and freeing up the blitzer, Thomas Booker literally runs straight into the center. The right guard slides over, picks everything up easily, and just like that, the blitz is wasted. Even worse, nobody contains the quarterback. Caleb sees daylight and takes off for 12 yards. That's a backbreaker. And it kept happening. Malcolm Koonce had some strong reps, but even he lost discipline on that last drive. He bull rushed the tight end, collapsed him, but Caleb slipped outside and hit a receiver for a 13-yard gain. Another chance to get off the field, gone. Then again, Kuntz goes wide on a speed rush, but guess what? Nobody's underneath to contain. Caleb sees it, tucks it, and grabs 6 easy yards. Over and over, the Raiders were just a step behind, a little sloppy, and it added up. The worst of them all? 3rd and 4, Bears deep in Raiders territory. Everyone knows that's the money down. And somehow, the Raiders let it go, not on a pass, but on a run. The Bears handed it off, and even though Jermaine Pratt actually came free on the play, the breakdown elsewhere allowed Chicago to move the chains. That was the dagger. This last drive summed up the entire game, flashes of good, buried under costly mistakes. And against a quarterback like Caleb Williams, you can't afford to hand out second chances. He came in untouched on that blitz. All he had to do was wrap up and make the tackle. Instead, he missed it, and what could have been a 2-yard loss turned into a huge mistake. The Bears, instead of facing 4th and long, suddenly had a fresh set of downs at the 2-yard line with 4 chances to punch it in. That single play could have changed the entire outcome. And it wasn't just that, on that final drive, the defense fell apart. Players were out of position, gaps weren't covered, and when the quarterback scrambled, nobody closed him down. The Raiders' defense gave up the deciding touchdown. Now, sure, you can point at Geno Smith's interceptions. You can question the play calling, especially that 4th and 1 disaster where the run went the wrong way. When you see your tight end blocking on a play that clearly doesn't fit, you know something is broken. And honestly, this isn't new. I've noticed the same problems again and again all season. The truth? The Raiders have the talent to be so much better. They should be producing like other explosive teams, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Seahawks. But the scheme feels off. The designs aren't clicking. The potential is there, but it's being wasted. Yes, the run game looked stronger against the Bears, but part of that was because their defense was light up front. The lanes were there to exploit. Still, the bigger issue remains, the offensive system just isn't working right now. It's frustrating, especially for fans who expected so much more this year. But the season isn't lost yet. There are winnable games ahead, the Colts, the Titans, and if the Raiders can build some momentum, that showdown against the Chiefs could turn into a real statement. Of course, it could also go the other way. That's the painful truth of this season, it could swing toward a turnaround, or spiral further down. Either way, there's still a lot of football left to play.